Welcome back to When I'm Not Podcasting. Sports are back, but cable customers are not, says Cord Cutters News and Artie Beatty. The story is fans not being in attendance. Traditional TV fans are also absent. So the big problem is sports might have come back, but the ratings might have gotten a little bit of a bump because people started watching. But you know what? Maybe there's a couple of things as to why people are not watching. Maybe it's the political stuff that was going on that might have turned people off. Maybe it's the fact that we're seeing, no crowd, so it feels like we're watching practice or watching like a junior varsity tournament or something like that. I mean, it doesn't have that full big screen feel. And then looking at some events like NBA or Major League Baseball and having either people on Zoom calls watching on the screen or having fake fans CGI'd onto into the stadium in a baseball stadium looking like a video game, that's probably not working for some people. Maybe some people are okay with it, but I think traditional fans, they want to see a crowd that's actually generating real interest and a big capacity crowd watching a game because it helps to make the sports interesting. It always does. So people are not into it. And when I watch wrestling, because I watch all the time, it kind of got tough for me to watch. And honestly, what's happening here was what wrestling got through as well. Same thing for UFC. Remember, the ratings are not great, but they're kind of struggling a little bit. So the question was asked by Cord Cutters News about whether live sports would bring streamers back to cable, and it's not good for traditional television when it comes to baseball. More than 25% of cord cutters so far in 2020 said the loss of live sports was the number one reason for leaving cable. When asked by Roku how they felt about the decision, 92% of users who cut cable this year said they were very satisfied. So with live sports back in action, are subscribers returning too? Not really. Out of homes that watched any baseball on linear TV in 2019, 70% did not watch a single minute of baseball's opening weekend return on linear TV. And out of baseball superfans who watched more than 30 hours of Major League Baseball on linear TV in 2019, a third of them didn't return for the opening weekend on linear. Well, think about it. You're not getting to watch the games as they would have started. So you didn't get opening day. You're not getting a full season. You're getting this abbreviated season where you'll have championships. So maybe the championships will be important. The World Series, the playoffs, sure. For the playoffs for the NBA Finals for NBA, sure. There's just some things they're not doing so well with. And that's part of the thing, too, is that you're not having the normal season start. The NHL, the same way. At this point of the year, in August, we're waiting for training camp for NFL, training camp for the college teams, which we don't know what those sports are going to be like. But baseball was normally supposed to be running right now, but we're not even in the middle of the season yet. We're already supposed to have been about 50 or some odd games in. We're supposed to be already past the All-Star break and halfway through the season, but we're not. So there's a big problem there. And we're just starting to see a couple of games right now. So people that were without the games just kind of didn't worry about getting back into it because it's like, half-ass season. We'll wait till next year to watch. And then NBA, they're restarting their season. Same thing with NHL. Doing it in this bubble. They're putting all the games in one shot. I noticed one thing when I was watching the NBA games, they're running the Eastern Conference games, they'll have games throughout the day, and they're just stacking them all up. And the other thing, too, is that if you're watching games and you're used to watching an East Coast team like a Boston Celtics or a Philadelphia 76ers, you're watching it like a 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock time. Sometimes those games will run later because of how they're stacking them up. So like the Celtics and Raptors I'm recording tonight, they had their game at 9, 10 o'clock, and it's a little bit later than normal. So some of those fans, they're not going to watch a game like that. It's not during their normal prime time, or it's just a little bit later in the night. Things like that could really change up. Plus, you don't have sports bars that are fully stacked up and available for people to just go and sit and watch games all night. Because if you're going there, you're not going to just sit there with a mask unless you are stuffing your face with food all 4 or 5 hours at the sports bar, or just drinking up beers. So that's a problem. And that's where they're at with things. So basketball's opening weekend, 40% of superfans didn't want basketball opening weekend, and 56% of NHL superfans didn't tune in for the Hockey League's return. And that's where they're coming down to. So the question is, are these fans simply done with baseball and not turning in for a shortened season, or are they just abandoned cable and found other ways to consume sports? Well, from opening weekends of 2019 and 2020, the amount of sports streamed increased 49%. So sports fans are still there. They're just tuning in through other methods. But then with super fans, the whole traditional pay TV had over their viewing habits have undergone an accelerated evolution because millions of households are cutting the cord even more so and exploring new ways of accessing their preferred content via streaming because now they're getting accustomed to streaming everything. They're going there to Netflix, their Amazon Prime, their Hulu, whatever, and now they're just used to it. And now they don't even bother putting on the cable box. And also, if it's a cost-cutting measure, because some people just can't afford it during the pandemic, they need to go and make some cost-cutting measures, then one of the things is going to go is cable. Because if they could go ahead and watch it through streaming and pay for all this and get less, some people are starting to sacrifice certain things now. A pandemic could create that. So that's what happened here. And we'll leave it right there. Please remember to share, like, and subscribe to When I'm Not Podcasting, or subscribe to the show wherever you find the podcast. And I hope you'll tell more people about it. And I'll talk to you on the next video.